Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive. We are jumping straight into the fallout from what was, an absolutely electrifying weekend of international fixtures.
Oh, completely.
If you are a fan of volatility, you need to buckle up because the World Rugby Rankings have been, well, completely shaken up. We saw some truly monumental shifts at the very top.
A proper shakeup.
Our mission today is to give you that shortcut to being perfectly informed. We're going to unpack the sources detailing the latest rankings, accurate as of November 15th, 2025. We really need to analyze what these key results mean, especially England's historic victory.
It was more than seismic. It was a fundamental rearranging of the furniture at the top of the game. And look, before we tear into the numbers, which are fascinating this week, if you value this kind of intensive, detail-oriented breakdown, you should subscribe to Rugby Obsession. We're committed to making sure you never miss a breakdown of the sport we all love.
That sets the scene perfectly, but let's not bury the lead. The result that absolutely dominated every conversation was England's stunning 33-19 dismantling of the All Blacks.
At Twickenham, no less.
For many, this was a statement that was long overdue. Not just a massive scoreline, but their first win against New Zealand since 2019. It feels like they are finally answering some big questions.
Emphatically.
So let's start with the architects of this. England's performance was remarkable, built on intensity and a really sharp strategic edge. We have to drill down into George Ford's role.
Oh, absolutely.
He was undeniably the man of the match, scored 13 points, but his real genius was in the decision-making.
It really was. And what's so fascinating is that it wasn't just about one guy's brilliance.
Yeah.
It reflected a kind of systemic maturity. Ford's 2 drop goals, for instance. They weren't just points on the board.
No.
They were tactical masterstrokes designed to just neutralize that high-pressure New Zealand defense. When you face the All Blacks, you have to take every single opportunity to put pressure on the scoreboard.
Right, especially when their line speed is just suffocating you.
Exactly. Those drop goals showed England was willing to take the low-risk points to just keep ticking over.
And this win, it didn't just come out of nowhere, did it? This is part of a much bigger narrative.
Absolutely. This was not an isolated event. This victory marks England's 10th successive win.
10th. That's a huge run.
That's a streak of consistency that actually started way back in the Six Nations with that really tight 26-25 win over France. 10 wins in a row with a victory over the world number 2 that suggests a real shift in their program.
So what did that confidence and strategy earn them in the cold, hard language of the rankings? Let's talk math.
The reward was substantial and immediate. England earned 1.03 rating points for that victory.
Wow, okay.
And that tally immediately launched them up to 3rd place overall. They're now sitting on 89.09 points. This single result was enough to displace Ireland from the top 3.
But what about the All Blacks? Despite what some outlets were calling Palm Squad chaos, driven by some of their younger players like Henry Pollock, New Zealand didn't exactly suffer a catastrophic fall, did they?
They did not. And this just shows the immense buffer that New Zealand had built up. Despite losing that 1.03 points, they held on to 2nd place with 90.33 points.
Okay.
So if you look at the numbers, they still have a 1.24 point buffer over England. That's still significant. England would need, several more big wins to close that gap.
Right. So that shift in the top 3 immediately forces us to look down the list. What happened with Ireland? They had a truly dominant performance, thrashing Australia 46-19 in Dublin.
Yeah.
A win of that magnitude, you'd think that would be enough to keep them ahead of England, right?
Logically, yes. And this is where the World Rugby Ranking algorithm gets really, really interesting. Ireland delivered a stellar performance, no doubt.
Yeah.
But because of the big ranking difference between them and Australia going into the match,
Okay.
they did not earn any rating points for their victory. The system rewards wins against higher-ranked opposition far, far more.
So because England beat the number 2 team and Ireland beat a team ranked lower than them, even by a huge margin, England just leapfrogs them. That's a brilliant clarification.
Precisely. That lack of a point gain allowed England's 1.03 haul to push them ahead. So Ireland now sits 4th with 88.85 points.
Which means they are just 0.24 points behind England.
It's a razor-thin margin.
Yeah.
It just illustrates perfectly how impactful one single fixture can be at the top level.
Okay, moving down the list. France also took care of business. They beat Fiji 34-21. What did that mean for them?
France got a fractional gain, just 0.12 points. So, similar to Ireland, not enough to make a big move. They're holding tight to 5th place with 87.07 points.
And the reigning world champs, the Springboks, they had their own drama, overcoming another early red card.
It's becoming a theme, isn't it?
It really is, but they still downed Italy 32-14 in Turin. How did that affect their ranking?
In terms of points, not at all this weekend. The Springboks earned no points for the win, but that was enough to keep them in first place with a very comfortable lead at 93.06.
Still the undisputed number one.
Oh, yeah. But what's notable is Italy. Despite losing, they didn't lose any rating points.
Really?
The point differential just wasn't big enough to trigger a penalty, and that let the Azzurri cling to 10th position with 78.98 points.
That's massive for Italian rugby, especially with the pressure they're under from those teams just outside the top 10.
It is, and this is where we need to pivot to some of the unexpected movers a bit further down.
Okay, but before we do, if you are enjoying this analysis and you want more in-depth rugby content, from rankings to player ratings to big picture strategy, make sure you subscribe to Rugby Obsession today.
Back to the rankings. The volatility isn't just in the top 5. We have to look at what happened a little lower down because these results hint at some emerging threats.
Let's start with Wales. They scraped a really tight win over Japan, 24-23. How significant was that for them?
It was crucial. Wales got a gain of 0.67 points, which helped them hold on to 12th place, now at 74.23.
And Japan dropped the same amount, I assume?
Yet they dropped the matching 0.67 points. It just shows how competitive it is outside that top 10. Every single point is fiercely contested. But the real story here, I think, is the consistent pressure from some of the Tier 2 nations. Take Georgia.
Right.
Their 38-17 victory over Canada was huge. It cements their place at 11th with 74.69 points. And when you compare that to Italy in 10th at 78.98, you realize that gap is closing fast.
So Georgia is breathing right down Italy's neck.
Absolutely. Which brings up that perennial question about integration for the top Tier 2 nations.
That's the dynamic we need to track. Any other teams make some notable gains?
We saw some crucial movement for teams looking towards future World Cups. The USA made a very impressive move. They gained 0.86 points.
Pushing them up to 16th, that's a great psychological boost for them.
It really is. And we also saw Portugal making steady gains. They moved up 2 spots, now sitting at 20th. These little gains are vital for their funding and morale.
That context is key. So let's just quickly summarize the new official top 5 where all the dramatic shuffling happened.
Okay, the top 5 now stands like this. Number 1, South Africa at 93.06. Number 2, New Zealand at 90.33. Number 3, the big movers, England with 89.09. Then Ireland in 4th at 88.85. And rounding it out is France in 5th with 87.07.
The race for that top 4 hasn't been this tight in years. It really confirms that England's win wasn't just an anecdote, it was a definitive turning point.
It really was.
So if we zoom out, the key takeaway for you, the listener, is that this was a pivotal weekend where England confirmed a massive statement win. They didn't just break their losing streak against the All Blacks.
No, it was much more than that.
They solidified their position as a major force and caused some genuine instability among the global elite. I mean, the sources suggest some panic around New Zealand right now, but the data shows their buffer is still there, for now.
Which brings us to a crucial point about the future. The horse material mentions these big debates emerging about red cards. We saw Lou de Jager's permanent red, the Bunk's repeated issues. We also saw whispers that Scott Robertson is already under some serious pressure with the All Blacks after this loss. So our provocative thought for you to consider is this. Looking forward, how much will coaching changes and inconsistent officiating, especially around red cards, impact the top teams?
Right.
Could these external factors become the true Achilles heel for the current top 4? We want to know what you think. Share your thoughts on how those elements will shape the next few months.
That is the perfect question to end on. If you want to keep breaking down the game with us, don't forget to subscribe to Rugby Obsession wherever you get your deep dives. Thank you for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we will look forward to you listening to our next episode.